ბატონებო და ქალბატონებო, პატივცემულო სტუმრებო, კონფერენციის მონაწილეებო. მინდა გახსნათ გამოვაცხადო განათლების ენისა და ლიტერატურის მე-7 საერთაშორისო კონფერენცია. Ladies and gentlemen, dear guests, dear honorary guests, I have a great honor to open the 7th International Research Conference on Education, Literature and Language.
წელს კვლევართა, მომხსენებელთა და დამსწრეთა უპრეცედენტო რაოდენობა მონაწილეობს კონფერენციაში. 250-ზე მეტი ადამიანი მსოფლიოს 26 ქვეყნიდან. ეს ქვეყნებია: საქართველო, დიდი ბრიტანეთი, ამერიკის შეერთებული შტატები, საბერძნეთი, ისრაელი, შვედეთი, თურქეთი, რუსეთის ფედერაცია, სომხეთი, ყაზახეთი, უკრაინა, აზერბაიჯანი, ირანი, ერაყი, ინდოეთი, იორდანია, ომანი, ლიბია, მალაიზია, პაკისტანი, საუდის არაბეთი, აერთიანების გაერთიანებული საემიროები, ტაილანდი, ნიგერია და სამხრეთ აფრიკა. This year we have unprecedented number of researchers, presenters and conference participants, about more than 250 people from about 26 different countries. These countries are Georgia, the United Kingdom, the United States of America, Greece, Israel, Sweden, Turkey, Russian Federation, Armenia, Kazakhstan, Ukraine, Azerbaijan, Iran, Iraq, India, Jordan, Oman, Libya, Malaysia, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Thailand, Nigeria, and South Africa.
ყოველწლიური კონფერენცია მიზნად ისახავს ხელი შეუწყოს მკვლევარებს, პრაქტიკოსებს, პოლიტიკოსებს და აკადემიური სფეროს წარმომადგენლებს, იმსჯელონ და განიხილონ განათლებასთან დაკავშირებული საკითხები. დაძლიონ გამოწვევები, განვითარდნენ პროფესიულად, გაუზიარონ ერთმანეთს საკუთარი გამოცდილება და მოსაზრებები. აგრეთვე კონფერენცია ემსახურება მთავარ მიზანს, ხელი შეუწყოს თეორიასა და პრაქტიკას შორის არსებულ მჭიდრო კავშირს, რომლის მეშვეობითაც შეისწავლიან კვლევის შედეგების პრაქტიკაში გამოყენების სხვადასხვა შესაძლო პერსპექტივას. კონფერენციაში ტრადიციულად მონაწილეობას იღებენ გამოცდილი და ცნობილი პედაგოგები, professori და განათლების სპეციალისტები. The aim of the conference is to bring together researchers, practitioners and policymakers to discuss issues, tackle real challenges, develop professionally, share opinions, find solutions and explore opportunities in the areas of education. The conference serves the purpose of promoting a tight link between theory and practice and explores different perspectives on the application of research findings into practice. The conference traditionally attracts experienced professors, teachers and educators.
კონფერენციის სამუშაო ენა არის ინგლისური. წარმოდგენილი ნაშრომები მოიცავენ საინტერესო თემებს: განათლება, ისტორია, ფილოსოფია, ფსიქოლოგია, განათლების თეორიული საკითხები, სასწავლო გარემოს მენეჯმენტი, განათლების ლიდერობა, მენეჯმენტი და ადმინისტრირება, უცხოური ენების სწავლების მეთოდები, სიახლეები და ეფექტურობა, ინოვაციები და სწავლების ეფექტური პრაქტიკა განათლებაში და ენის სწავლებაში, საკომუნიკაციო ტექნოლოგიების გამოყენება სწავლების პროცესში, ანგლო-ამერიკული ლინგვისტიკა და ლიტერატურა, ენა და კულტურა. The working language for the conference is English. The presented topics cover a wide range of topics: education, history, philosophy, psychology, theoretical issues and education, classroom management, education leadership, management and administration, methods of teaching languages, innovation and effectiveness, innovations and effective practices in education and language teaching, computer-assisted teaching, Anglo-American linguistics and literature, language and culture.
გვინდა სიტყვა გადავცეთ შავი ზღვის საერთაშორისო უნივერსიტეტის რექტორს, პროფესორ ილიას ჩილოღლუს. ბატონო რექტორო, გთხოვთ მიმართოთ ძვირფას სტუმრებსა და კონფერენციის მონაწილეებს. We would like to ask the rector of International Black Sea University, Professor Dr. Ilyas Chiloghlu, to address honorary guests and the conference participants.
Good morning. I'm very pleased to see that many guests from many different countries. Before my speech, I would like to congratulate my team for arranging this wonderful event. Actually, yesterday, Nika Parchonaze sent me an email, a speech for today, but Nika, sorry, I don't like reading from paper. Are you around? Okay, hopefully you like my speech. Yeah, IPSU is one of the leading university in the country. According to last year rankings, we are among first two among private universities, but we are having like fourth position among all other 75 universities in the country. We are very much focused on research recently because I think we are good in teaching, but the area which we feel should be improved is research. This is one of the event that today we are having here, and you are going to discuss these 2 days. Will help us to work on that dimension. As a university, we are publishing academic journals. Each faculty publish academic journals, which are all English. We are also having the education faculty is having also a separate journal. I think Kabotu Natela is going to talk about that, which is a pre-reviewed journal. Well, we arrange many conferences like this that today you see, and we publish all these papers. We also have like 9 different research centers. Well, I can't say we are very good in each center, but well, we try our best to improve. We have Silk Road Research Center, which is this year we are going to celebrate 12th of the center and have the conference on that. And we are planning a visit to China in May 14, 16, on that purpose to sign an agreement with one of the leading Chinese university, which is University of International University of Business and Economics. This is really a very high-ranked university in the world, and we plan with them to work on research. Again, this is our priority, and my staff knows we talk every day on that. And hopefully this gathering today will help us. And I mean, if you suggest us something more to what to do on that sphere, we'll be very glad. And we are having about 2,300 students in the university from 18 different countries. We every year send about 100 students abroad as an exchange. We also receive fee from outside, but hopefully in the future to receive more, because Georgia is really very good destination, I think, to get good education. By the way, we are nowadays receiving many international applications. In the morning, we were discussing with my colleagues. There are like hundreds of students writing to come to study here. And Tbilisi is really very nice city to live and to get good education. And hopefully once you go back to your country, please go ahead and tell about us, about the country, about the city, and hopefully we will receive more international students from your countries. Again, I'm very pleased to see you here all. I wish you good luck and fruitful sessions. Thank you again.
გვინდა სცენაზე მოვიწვიოთ ჩვენი კონფერენციის დამაარსებელი, განათლებისა და ჰუმანიტარული ფაკულტეტის პროფესორი ქაბატონი ნათელა დოვონაძე. We would like to give floor to the founder of this conference, Professor of the Faculty of Education and Humanities, Mrs. Nathela Dogonadze.
Hello, dear colleagues. I want to call colleagues even those of you who are students, because I deeply believe you are not just stakeholders, as the fashionable term goes, but you are colleagues from the very beginning. I'm very glad that this conference, which started 7 years ago on a modest enough scale, because in the first year it was something like 7 countries and maybe 50 participants, but every year it has been increasing, and this year we have practically full hall. Almost no places to sit. So maybe next year we will need a larger room to organize the opening ceremony, which is very pleasant. As our rector has mentioned, we are very keen on research. And what is a characteristic feature of our international conferences that although very well-known scholars participate in the conferences, but also not only PhD students, but also master students and even very outstanding BA students. Because we think that a scientist begins as soon as the person enters a university, because maybe later it will be too late to begin the real scientific career. No. So this year we have an extraordinary not only number of participants and number of countries, but also inside Georgia, we have the greatest number of universities who are taking place, and especially I am glad that this year we have many school representatives, because education is not only for universities, of course, it's for school teachers, and school teachers' qualifications should be corresponding. So I'm very glad that we have quite many members of ETAG, English Teachers Association of Georgia, and I hope this tendency will be promoted, and we will have school teachers not only among attendants, but also among presenters, but we have one presenter who is a school teacher. That's already the first good step. I'm very glad that the opening coincided with very nice weather, because this spring in Georgia is a little bit strange. And even the weather is greeting us and wants us a good conference. So do I. Thank you.
ახლა კი სტენაზე ვთხოვთ განათლებისა და ჰუმანიტარულ მეცნიერებათა ფაკულტეტის დეკანს პროფესორ თამარ შიაშვილს. We would like to give floor to the Dean of the Faculty of Education and Humanities, Professor Tamar Shiashvili, and ask her to address the audience.
Dear guests, participants, welcome to our conference. I'm very glad that the scope of participants is enlarging every year, and we see so many guests coming from different countries. We've heard the list. So what is research in our case? We all are, we all teach. So research is based on teaching experience, but on the other hand, educating is based on research. So these are reciprocal processes, and what is more important, we all, while teaching, we all are involved in equifinality process. That is, we are trying to reach the final goal through well-accepted methodology, but at the same time, representatives of different cultures have culture-specific methodology. So this gathering is a very good means for educators to exchange these culture-specific methodologies that will be very useful for Georgians as well. We have a lot of Georgian participants today, and so I think this purpose is very good of conference. And once again, I want to thank you for coming and wish you successful sessions. Thank you very much.
ჩვენს კონფერენციას ესწრებიან გამორჩეული სტუმრები. გვინდა მადლობა გადაუხადოთ საქართველოს განათლებისა და მეცნიერების სამინისტროს ჩვენი კონფერენციის დაინტერესებისათვის და სიტყვა გადავცეთ უმაღლესი განათლებისა და მეცნიერების განვითარების სამმართველოს უფროს ბატონ ნუგზარ ჩიტაიას. We have very special guests today attending the conference opening ceremony. We would like to thank the Ministry of Education and Science of Georgia for showing interest in our conference, and we would like to ask the head of Higher Education and Science Development Department, Mr. Nugzar Chitaia, to address the audience.
მოგესალმებით კონფერენციის მონაწილეებო, ჩამოსულო სტუმრებო, ადგილობრივი ორგანიზატორებსა და რაც თავარია სტუდენტებს, ასეთი მნიშვნელოვანი მეშვიდე საერთაშორისო განათლების, ლიტერატურისა და ენის კონფერენციის მნიშვნელოვან თარიღზე. ეს კონფერენცია როგორც ეთყობა უკვე მეტად ტრადიციული გახდება ჩვენი ცხოვრებისათვის და ძალიან მნიშვნელოვანია მისი ყოველი მოღვაწეობა და წარმატება.
Dear guests, let me welcome you and wish you a fruitful cooperation during this interesting session. As it seems, this conference is already having a huge tradition and it has a very interesting roots.
განათლების და მეცნიერების სამინისტროს ერთ-ერთი პრიორიტეტული მიმართულება მისი განვითარების და სტრატეგიული გეგმის წარმოადგენს ხარისხის განვითარება და ინტერნაციონალიზაცია და ამ კუთხით
One of the priorities of the Ministry of Education and Science of Georgia is the quality assurance and the development in this regard.
ამ კუთხით სწორედ დიდ მნიშვნელოვან მუშაობას ეწევა თქვენი უნივერსიტეტი და კერძოდ ეს კონფერენცია რასაკვირველია თავის წვლილს შეიტანს ჩვენი საერთაშორისო განვითარების საქმეში.
And this university and particularly this kind of the conference contributes significantly to the internationalization and the development in this regard.
დაბოლოს მინდა ერთი მარტივი ესეთი შენიშვნავით გავაკეთო, ისევე როგორც შავი ზღვა არის სოფლიო ოკეანეების შვილი და მათი საერთაშორისო დონის მფლობელი, ასევე შავი ზღვის უნივერსიტეტი არის საერთაშორისო საზოგადოების სრულუფლებიანი წევრი და მათი ინტერნაციონალური დონის მფლობელი.
I'd like to make a small comment here that as the Black Sea is the kind of a key for the world oceans, likewise International Black Sea University is a full-fledged member of the International Education Society.
წარმატებას გისურვებთ მომავალ საქმიანობაში და რაც თავარია მრავალი კეთილი საქმე გაგეკეთებინოთ.
Wish you success in your future work.
ამერიკის შეერთებული შტატების საელჩო საქართველოში ჩვენი უნივერსიტეტის ხშირი სტუმარია. განათლებისა და ჰუმანიტარულ მეცნიერებათა ფაკულტეტი ხშირად თანამშრომლობს საელჩოსთან საინტერესო პროექტების განხორციელების თვალსაზრისით. ამის დასტურია ამერიკის შეერთებული შტატების საელჩოს მიერ ორგანიზებული სამხრეთ კავკასიის ინგლისური ენის რეგიონალური კონფერენცია, რომელსაც 2017 წლის იანვარში შავი ზღვის საერთაშორისო უნივერსიტეტმა უმასპინძლა. გვინდა მადლობა გადაუხადოთ საელჩოს ამ თანამშრომლობისათვის და სიტყვა გადავცეთ საქართველოში ამერიკის შეერთებული შტატების საელჩოს კულტურის ატაშეს ბატონ დამიან ვომპლერს. The Embassy of the United States to Georgia as a frequent and special guest at International Black Sea University. The Faculty of Education and Humanities often cooperates with Embassy to do interesting projects. As an example, most recent event can be mentioned. The U.S. Embassy to Georgia organized the 7th South Caucasus Regional ELT Conference in January 2017, and it was hosted by the International Black Sea University. We would like to thank the Embassy for this meaningful cooperation, and now we would like to give floor to Cultural Affairs Officer of the U.S. Embassy to Georgia, Mr. Damian Wampler.
First of all, I want to thank Elias and the entire team at IBSU for hosting the U.S. Embassy on many occasions, in particular the recent South Caucasus Teachers Conference. And we have to thank Tamar for hosting our English teacher. We have an American who is a teacher in residence here, Kevin Hershey, who immediately upon arrival decided to extend to his second year, and I'm a little bit worried that he's going to spend the rest of his life in Georgia. It's not such a bad thing, but Georgia really grows on you once you've been here for just a few days. Please raise your hand if this is your first visit to Georgia. Is this your first trip? Okay, wonderful. Well, welcome to Georgia. You're only here for 2 days, so you can only gain 1 or 2 kilos. I foresee a lot of bread and cheese in your future. Sunday marks the 25th anniversary of U.S.-Georgian diplomatic relations, so on behalf of Ambassador Kelly and the whole U.S. Embassy, I want to congratulate the people of Georgia for this fruitful partnership. Sunday is 25 years since the United States recognized the new Georgia, which of course lays on the foundation of thousands of years of tradition. But that doesn't mean that our partnership and friendship began 25 years ago. In fact, it began long before. And so with this conference only being the 7th, I foresee many, many years of future cooperation. Hopefully there will be the 17th and then the 70th conference of this type here at IBSU. It's quite extraordinary, the different topics that I see on the agenda over the next 2 days. although this is an English conference, the topics that you guys are covering range from psychology to STEM to philosophy. I see Plato, I see gender, I see identity, I see so many different topics that it's much more than just the English language. And actually, when you look at the agenda for the next 2 days, it begs the question, does this conference need to be held in English at all? I mean, could you hold this same conference in Arabic, in Turkish, in Russian, in Chinese? That's a deeper philosophical question that I don't think can be answered, but I want to say that I'm flattered that this conference is tackling very difficult subjects in English, in my native language. And I would even argue that because of the democratic foundations of the English language from the United Kingdom, from the United States, Canada, Australia, and the Western democracies, that many of these topics that you're looking at, gender identity and the philosophy and psychology that you're going to be discussing in the next few days, are maybe best understood using English. So I feel that English is a useful tool, a powerful tool, but it's not the end. It's just a means to understanding our world in a better way. So I want to thank all of you who are out there teaching. As a former teacher, I can say that although my years as a teacher were quite happy and fun, I can't say that they were particularly useful to my students. I was a terrible teacher. So I know how difficult it is, and I'm glad that the future of my native language is in very good hands from more than 25 different countries around the world who have converged here in Georgia, here at IBSU, to explore these very, very interesting and very challenging topics in what I would say are very challenging times that we face now. So you're gaining the tools to forge ahead, and I want to thank you for doing that here in Georgia, which is really an ideal place to look at these issues, because Georgia, although with all its thousands of years of history, the modern Georgia is really a new place. The new modern incarnation of Georgia is a stable, functional democracy, which is unique to this region and a truly important focal point in the whole world, actually. So I hope that not only are you looking at English, but you're tackling difficult issues and you're looking at Georgia's democracy as a model for what many countries in the world could be in the near future. So again, thank you and good luck to you during the conference.
შავი ზღვის საერთაშორისო უნივერსიტეტს ბევრი მეგობარი ჰყავს. მათ შორის არის საქართველოს ინგლისური ენის მასწავლებელთა ასოციაცია იტაგი, რომელთანაც 2 წლის წინ თანამშრომლობის მემორანდუმიც გავაფორმეთ. ჩვენთვის ღირებულია ეს ურთიერთობა, რადგან იტაგი აერთიანებს ინგლისური ენის სწავლების სფეროს ბევრ გამოცდილ და გამორჩეულ სპეციალისტს. გვინდა სცენაზე მოვიწვიოთ იტაგის ხელმძღვანელი პროფესორი მანენა რუსეიშვილი. International Black Sea University has many guests, among them English Teachers Association of Georgia, popularly known as ITEG. Our university signed a memorandum of understanding 2 years ago, and we do highly appreciate this cooperation as ITEG incorporates many experienced and distinguished English language specialists. We would like to ask the head of ITEG, Professor Manena Ruseishvili, to address the audience.
Dear conference participants, invited guests, and ladies and gentlemen, as ITEG president, I'm proud today to welcome all of you, the participants of this conference, young as well as experienced teachers, teachers from schools, as from universities, from Tbilisi as well as from regions, from local, from state as well as private institutions. ITEG, which is the most experienced and the oldest and I would say the best, one of the best teachers associations in Georgia, has always been very lucky to have such remarkable and supportive partners. We, of course, cherish all of them and respect all of them, but today our special thanks go to the host institution of this conference, to the rector of IPSU University, Professor Dr. Ilyas Cheloglu, to the vice rector of the university, to the deans of the university. Special thanks to Nick Aparjanadze, professor of this university, and organizers, and to all the people who have contributed to the success of this conference. We have been proud to have this partnership for 2 years, and during this period we have implemented quite a few important projects, and we also hope to do so in the nearest future. On behalf of ETAG, I'm delighted to welcome our invited guests and keynote speakers who have taken the trouble to arrive in Tbilisi today to make their presentations. Also, I wholeheartedly welcome all the Georgian participants and presenters, especially ETAG members, not only from Tbilisi, but from our other branches, from Kutaisi, Batumi, Zugdidi, Tel Aviv, Gori, Rustavi, Akhaltsikhe. I wish the contributors were success with their presentations, and as for the participants of the conference, may your day today will be full of positive emotions. I'm sure that this conference is going to be far-sighted, very interesting, full of relevant content and materials, and of equally wonderful presentations and deliveries of the content. So good luck with all of you, and thank you again.
Thank the Ministry of Education and Science for being with us, the U.S. Embassy, and all the invited guests. And I would like to thank ETAG. We've been closely cooperating for 2 years officially. Before that, of course, we had a close relationship. And through our common efforts, we made this big event possible. So thank you so much.
I think this is working. Can you hear me? Can I hear you? 1, 2, 3. Yes. Can I ask you a question? Do you speak English? Can you understand me? Put your hands up if you are a teacher of English. Wow, that's nearly everybody. So that's, I don't need to ask it. Hands up if you are just a student of English. Hands up if you hate putting your hand up in front of other Georgians. Nobody. Great. So the microphones are working. This is my colleague Trevor. Is your microphone working, Trevor?
Is my microphone working?
Yes, it's working. Okay, great.
That's my voice anyway.
So we are celebrating two things. Celebrating 400 years. We're not celebrating, we're marking the death 400 years ago, more or less, of the great William Shakespeare, almost as great as Rustaveli, almost, but not quite. But we do our best. And we're also celebrating English language teaching. I'm trying to bring these two major events in the history of the world, Shakespeare and language teaching, together. They're both celebrating their 400th birthday. So, our voice as teachers and our body language, you agree, are important to effective teaching? Yes? Use your voice. You can speak to me. It's not forbidden. Okay. So let's repeat some key words which Shakespeare and language teaching have in common. Let's say, I don't know, creative. They are both, when they are done well, do you agree? Creative. Can you all repeat the word creative? And let's do some word formation, as we teachers call it, derivation. Another word like creative from the same root is creativity. Thank you. All together. Creativity. Another word, the person. All together. Don't be shy. You can use your voice. I saw you. You didn't use your voice. And there's another key word which is related. Imagination. Is it important in language teaching and learning? Well, let's repeat it. Imagination. What would John Lennon have said? Imagine. And the adjective? You said you were teachers, so imaginative. Okay, great. Thank you very much. So your voice is in good working order. I'm pleased to hear. You have a little program, a questionnaire. And like a terrible teacher that I am, I'm going to begin with a test, which is really a quiz. How much do we know about the greatest writer in the English language? I'm sure you will get all of the answers right. Let's look at the first one. Wave your program. Have you got it? You've got it. Great. Number one, an easy one. But be careful. I like trick questions. Shakespeare's theatre was called A, the wooden O, the cockpit, the globe, the theatre. Hands up for A. Hands up for B, the cockpit, the globe. Hands up for the theatre. No theatres? Well, the correct answer is the theatre. The globe was his second theatre. So you learned something here. This conference, this great conference, has already taught you something you did not know before. That Shakespeare's first theatre was quite simply called the theatre. And later, Burbage and his friends, they built the Globe on the South Bank, as you know. Okay? Now, cockpit. What is the cockpit? The cockpit is the name of another theatre. Why did they call them cockpits? Because cocks were used in competitions. There were cockfights. So Shakespeare's theatre and cockfighting and bear baiting, these cruel sports, often went side by side, together. So bear that in mind. This is very popular theatre, like the great Rustavelli theatre. I had the privilege of seeing the greatest Richard III by the Rustavelli in Greece. Then I saw the Rustavelli again in London in A Midsummer Night's Dream. So congratulations on one of the best Shakespeare theatres in the world. I think you know that, right? Okay, so that's the cockpit. Number two, a quotation from Henry V. Let us on your creative, imaginative, imaginary, inventive forces work. Shakespeare believes a lot, as we can see, in creativity and imagination. But which word does Henry V use the play of these four? Is it creative, imaginative? Which one? C, imaginary. Well, could be. Well, let's check it. When Trevor and I begin, you can check your answers. I won't give you all the answers now. So you have to listen carefully. A good teacher gets the attention of students and tries to keep it. So let's see if you are paying attention. Number three, Shakespeare in the same play talks about imagination, and he uses this wonderful expression. He tells the audience, as you listen, we're not going to be perfect. We're going to make a lot of mistakes. We're actually not very good actors. And our theatre is very poor. So you have to piece out our what with your thoughts. Use your thoughts to complete, to piece out what? Errors, mistakes, slips, or imperfections? Is it, well, this is, who thinks it's A, errors? Mistakes, slips, imperfections. You're good, you're good. It may well be the right answer, we'll see. Another one, from one of the first English language textbooks in the 16th century. Here today, in Tbilisi, here is an extract from a dialogue from one of the first English language textbooks. And it's an idiom. How does the idiom end? Old flesh makes good stew, soup, broth, or goulash? Broth. You've been studying your Shakespeare or your English language textbooks from the 16th century. Are the books you use in Georgia so old? We'll check it as we go along. Henry V, the great Henry V who conquered France in the Battle of Agincourt, he says, a black beard will turn white, but a good heart. Think of the man or the woman you love. A good heart is so important, isn't it, in love? What is a good heart? Is it the sun, the moon, the stars, the planets? Which would you choose if you were feeling poetic? Planets, sun, moon. The moon is fickle in Shakespeare. The moon is changeable, not to be trusted. Let's see what the answer is. Old age, says old Henry, that great destroyer of beauty, can do no more to spoil my what? Face? Number 7, the older I get, the worse, the better, the more ugly, the more wrinkled. Look at me, look at me. Let me tell you something. The older I get, look, I may look old, but the older I get, the better I shall appear.
He's only 25.
I'm only 25. I pretend I'm old. I'm an actor, you see. Okay. Time from Troilus and Cressida. Time hath my Lord what at his back, wherein he puts alms for oblivion. Alms, you know the word alms, synonym? Charity, donations to charity and so on. And he talks about time, and we shall see time in our performance. What is time? What does time have at his back? A bag, a purse, a box, a wallet? I'm not telling you, you'll have to listen. Okay. Time is a great-sized monster of, number 9, old age, decay, forgetfulness, ingratitude. Which do you like? Hands up for old age, a great monster of old age. A great monster of decay. Decay. A monster of forgetfulness. Hands up for ingratitude. Do you know your Troilus and Cressida? You don't have to, but anyway, nobody else would know it either. Speak the speech, says Hamlet. The great Hamlet gives advice to actors how to be a good actor. And he says, the famous, speak the speech, I pray you, as I pronounced it to you. What's the adverb? Smoothly, fluently, trippingly, softly. Hands up for smoothly. What does Hamlet say? Fluently, hands up. Trippingly, hands up. Softly, hands up. You didn't put your hands up for any of them. I thought you knew Hamlet by heart. Softly. Could be. Anybody say trippingly? These, my trick questions, always choose the unusual word. That's a little tip. It may be the right one. Okay, the unusual one. Like, for example, in the next one. With this special advice, that you overstep not the modesty of nature. Hamlet says, don't exaggerate when you act. Don't overstep the modesty of nature. So what word does he use? Does he say advice, observance? Well, remember what I just told you? If you have a dilemma or a quadrilemma, get it? Choose the unusual word. What does Hamlet say when he gives advice? Observance, probably. Romeo, Romeo, says Juliet, why art, mistake, why art thou Romeo? Where art thou? Where art thou, Romeo? Romeo, where art thou? Wherefore art thou, Romeo? What art thou? What does she say, Juliet? Who says? She says, why art you Romeo? Why art thou Romeo? Where art thou? So she's lost him. She's looking for him. Who art thou, Romeo? Hands up. Wherefore art thou? Well, we'll check it. It's wherefore. And wherefore is a synonym of why. Very good over there. 1 point. To be or not to be. Now, you all know this. But remember what I told you about trick questions. What does the famous soliloquy say? To be or not to be? Aye, there's the point. Or to be or not to be? There's the problem. To be or not to be? That is the question. To be or not to be? That's it. Who says it's A? Who says it's B? Who says it's C? Who says it's D? Well, you are all wrong. The first thing that Shakespeare wrote, for those Shakespeare scholars, in the bad quarto, because Shakespeare's plays were published in paperback, let's say, the quarto, the small editions, and they were published in the big one at the end of his career, in the first folio, the complete works, okay? In the complete works, we have to be or not to be, that is the question. But the first version that Shakespeare wrote, or that we have, in the bad quarto, it's called, the paperback, is the first one. There's the point. Have you learned something today? Has it been worth coming all the way to Georgia? Of course it has. You don't have to stay for the rest of the conference. It's enough. Okay, very good. And Hamlet says, number 14, "'Tis a perfection devoutly to be wished, completion, fulfillment, consummation." Which is the unusual word? That's the correct one. So he's giving the famous soliloquy. Okay? To die, to sleep, perchance to dream. There's the rub. 'Tis a consummation devoutly to be wished. And he complains. Hamlet's always moaning, complaining. And he's complaining in number 15 about the proud man's insolence. Have you ever suffered proud people who are insolent? They show contempt. They show contumely, arrogance. But which word does Hamlet use for these horrible, proud men? Which is the unusual word? Is it? Which dictionary are you using? Arrogance, is that the most unusual word? The most poetic word? Probably it's C. Yeah, if you don't know the meaning of the word, that's Shakespeare. The funny thing about Shakespeare is nobody understands what he's saying, but we all love him. I hope you understand Rustavelli. Do you understand Rustavelli? Yes? More or less. And Hamlet says at the end of that great soliloquy, conscience does make what of us all? Does it make us saints, sinners, courageous people, or cowards? Hands up for conscience. You know conscience? It makes us saints. It makes us sinners. Good, good. A brave lady there. Courageous people. Does that sound poetic? No, it's crap. What about cowards? Cowards. Yes, you know your Hamlet. Nearly finished. At the end of his career, Shakespeare, whoever he was, in The Wonderful Tempest, he gives this fantastic speech. Everything is over. The show is over. The play is over. Our revels, he says. You know this lovely word, revels? When you go to the restaurant and you drink and eat with your friends and you dance at festivals, revels. And he says, the great Prospero, well, I've given you the answer. What an idiot. I've told you the answer. Our revels now are ended. Well, our revels are just beginning. Be patient. We are such stuff. This is a grammar test, but be careful. Trick question coming up. We are such stuff as dreams are made of, on, with, or from. Of, hands up. Made of. Made on. Who knows their Shakespeare now? Made with. Made from. I don't want to put my hand up. Hands up if you don't want to put your hand up. Hands up if you're afraid of making a mistake and losing marks. Staying in the same class. Number 19, that's all one. For what is done? Our spectacle, our play, our show, our act, it could be anyone. So listen and check your answers. The last role of all. That one is not from Shakespeare, that's from the great poet and playwright Luke Prodromo. So we don't have to do number 20. And at the end, we'll finish with this lovely poem about teaching, which is based on As You Like It, All the World's a Stage, which Alexander quoted. Where's Alexander? My colleague, he's disappeared. All the world's a stage and all the men and women merely players, okay? Well, we've got our version. Every classroom is a stage, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I think we've done the test. You've done very well. Congratulations. We're ready to go. Any questions before we begin? Okay. Now remember what I said. Piece out our imperfections when we make mistakes. Be patient and help us to go on. Celebrating Shakespeare and English language teaching. 400 years. Oh, for a muse of fire. Oh, for a muse of fire that would ascend the brightest heaven of invention. A kingdom for a stage, princes to act, and monarchs to behold the swelling scene. But pardon, gentles all, the flat, unrazed spirits that hath dared on this unworthy scaffold to bring forth so great an object? Can this cockpit hold the vasty fields of France? And may we cram within this wooden O the very casques that did affright the air at Agincourt? Oh, pardon, and let us on your imaginary forces work. Piece out our imperfections with your thoughts, and admit me, chorus to this history, who, prologue-like, your humble patience pray, gently to hear, kindly to judge our play. Shakespeare wrote these words in Henry V to describe two things that go into the making of great theatre. First, the inspiration of the author, his muse, and secondly, the imagination of the audience. Piece out our imperfections with your thoughts. In our case, as teachers, the inspiration of the teacher and the imagination of the students, the learners. But the muse, or inspiration, is combined in Shakespeare with another important element: fire, passion, a muse of fire, inspiration and passion. Shakespeare's stage is a small space. It begins as an empty space. Shakespeare's theatre is a mere cockpit, an unworthy wooden O, a nothing. O means nothing. That's why he uses this word, O for nothing. It's too small to contain all the things that the playwright wants to represent. He can only succeed if his inspiration is fired by passion, and if the audience take part by activating their creative imagination to complete the imperfections of the performance, or in our case, the lesson. Agreed? And do you agree with the next bit? As in love and marriage, it takes two to tango. Shakespeare's theatre, or the theatre generally, like the classroom, is a marriage of true minds. But it is a passionate marriage. So, O for a muse of fire. Shakespeare wrote these words in about 1599. It's just before this that we see the first English language teaching textbooks for teaching English as a foreign language in one-to-one classes, what we call private lessons. And it's about the same time we see these first private lessons. Okay, what were they like, these one-to-one language lessons? Well, one teacher trainer, an educator of the time, complains about the way the teachers conducted their private lessons. He says, "I like not their manner of teaching." Why? did he not like their manner of teaching? Well, he says, they will take money beforehand, and when they are paid, they care little for their scholars or their students. And what method did the teachers use in the 16th century? The teacher trainer tells us, they will read but half a page and translate it. And how long did this exciting lesson last? The educator tells us, they will stay only about half an hour. Good work, if you can get it. But you know, not all classes in those days were based on translation. A lot of the textbooks in the 16th century actually had very realistic dialogues based on everyday situations. And a lot of them had inspiration, they had passion, and they had even humor. And we shall see now an example from one of the first English language textbooks, a dialogue which is designed to teach English idioms. 16th century. Listen to the dialogue. We would like you just to see if you can spot the idioms. The situation is this. There are two friends, two neighbors, and they're talking about another neighbor. The function, as we say, the communicative function is gossiping. They are gossiping about their neighbor. Their neighbor is a passionate old man. Let's hear the dialogue.
What is become of your neighbour?
As old as you see him, he hath of late wedded a young wench of 15 years of age.
Then he and she will make the whole Bible together, the New and Old Testament.
Yes, to an old cat, a young mouse.
Old flesh makes good broth.
Old flesh, aye, makes good broth. That's a dialogue from the 16th century. Shakespeare may have seen this dialogue. He may have read it, because it was written by a friend of his, the great Renaissance scholar, John Florio. Anybody heard of John Florio? They were friends with Shakespeare. So he may have read this dialogue, and it influenced the scene in Henry V, where Shakespeare shows us the very first private English lesson in history. And today here in Tbilisi, we're going to see this first private English lesson. The teacher is King Henry V. King Henry is an aging king. He's not so young anymore. He has just conquered which country? France.
Oh my God.
And now it's time to conquer the beautiful, the young and beautiful Princess of France. Catherine, Princess Catherine. Do we have a princess? Let's give her a round of applause. My Princess Catherine. Okay, please. They have arranged with Princess Catherine, Henry will give her private lessons. He will teach her English as a foreign language, and she, Princess Catherine, will teach Henry French as the language of love. The lesson, are you ready for the lesson?
Yes, sir.
Let's begin our private lesson. Fair Catherine, most fair Kate, will you teach me words of love that will enter your gentle heart?
Oh, your majesty shall mock at me. I cannot speak your England.
Fair Catherine, if you will only love me fluently with your French heart, I will be glad to hear you confess it brokenly with your English tongue. Do you like me, Kate?
Pardonnez-moi, what is like me?
What is like me? Let me teach you, Kate. Like. An angel is like you. And you are like an angel.
Oh, what do you say, that I am like angel?
That's right, Kate, correct. Well done, you're good.
Oh, the tongues of men are full of deceit.
What says my fair one? That the tongues of men are full of deceit.
The tanks they meant are full of deceit.
Faith, Kate, I'm glad you speak no better English. For if you did, you would know how plain I am. But I know no ways to mince my words of love, but directly to say, I love you, Kate. What sayest thou? Can you love me, Kate?
Oh, please, Your Majesty, me no understand well.
Okay. Let me explain. If, Kate, you cannot love someone who looks like me, let imagination be the cook.
What is imagination? Cook?
All right. Like a good teacher, I'll give her an example, shall I? Imagination. Oh, imagination, Kate, is when you piece out my imperfections with your thoughts. Cook. Look, I'll teach you, Kate. Cook. A black beard will grow white. A curly head will go bald. A fair face will wither. But a good heart, Kate, a good heart is the sun and the moon, or rather, the sun.
Oh, the French that you speak is better than the English I speak.
No, it's not, Kate. My French isn't better than your English. But dost thou understand this much English, Kate? I love you, Kate.
I cannot tell.
What sayest thou, my flower de luce?
Flower de luce? What means flower de luce?
Oh, that's easy. I'll tell you later. What sayest thou, la plus belle Catherine du monde?
Your Majesty, have enough French to deceive the most wise mademoiselle all over France.
All right, Kate, all right. Forget my false French, and let me tell you in true, plain English, I love you, Kate.
But is it possible?
Can you love me in spite of this face? You know, Kate, the older I get, the better I shall appear. My comfort is that old age, that great destroyer of beauty, can do no more to spoil my face. I'm at my worst now. If you have me now, Kate, you will have me better and better. Will you have me, Kate? Tell me your answer in your broken music, for your voice is music and your English broken. Will you have me, Kate? Tell me your mind in your gentle, broken English grammar. Will you have me, Kate?
Oh, that will contempt.
Good, Kate, that's the right answer. And on that, let me kiss your hand and call you my queen.
No, please, sir, no, I beg you, excuse me, but no.
But let me
don't.
kiss your lips then.
My lips? Before marriage? That is not a custom in France.
What did she say? Can you speak French? Anybody? Can you translate? Did you say yes or no? Did you say yes? Hands up. Did you say no? Oh, I'll try again later then. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Come here. Mariam took on this part about 20 minutes ago. She had not seen this text before. We had a problem, and she stood in at the last minute. This shows you what motivation and good students can do. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You did great.
Thank you.
Wasn't she great? Lovely. I was only acting, of course. Now, where were we? Did you spot the aims of the lesson? Did you spot Henry's aims? His personal aims, his pedagogic aims? Did you get them? You know, one thing those teacher trainers I mentioned could do and don't is to teach us how to teach one-to-one classes and how to deal with students like Henry with special learning difficulties. You saw his difficulties. You know, but they don't, you see. They waste time flipping classrooms, blending classrooms, and so on. And another thing they could teach us, these teacher trainers, is how to use our voice and body language, as I said, to become more effective teachers. Agreed? You know the cliche, you know, a good actor, a good teacher is a bit of an actor. I don't know if you believe that. Do you believe that? Well, to some extent it's true. We can learn a lot from actors, though, as we shall see in the next sketch. The next sketch is called the masterclass. Is that right? I've got the right one. Is that the right one? It is.
The audition, the masterclass.
The audition. Yeah, it's an audition, and I'll explain everything. This is my candidate, your victim, my victim. Okay, let's go. The masterclass. Hello, good evening, and welcome. Welcome to the Royal Academy of Acting for Teachers, RAT. Now, Trevor, you would like to join us here at RAT to improve your voice and body language and so become a more effective teacher. Is that right?
Yes, that's right, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Have you prepared something for us this evening?
I have. It's a speech from Troilus and Cressida, Act 3, Scene 3. It's the Ulysses speech.
That's the Ulysses speech, Troilus and Cressida, Act 3, Scene 3, page 36 in your new Penguin edition for those of you who want to follow here. Now, Trevor, before we begin, I would like you to imagine that you are like a racing car going around the track, okay? And I would also like you to imagine that you have a video camera connected to you, so we're going to get a good view of the track. Now, in a moment, I'll be taking your engine apart, piece by piece, oiling it, and putting it back together again. Okay, so we're going to get a good view of that track. Okay, so would you like to give us a good view of that track, Trevor?
You mean read it?
Yes, Trevor, read the text, please. Now, you will be assessing his performance, so please, you are the committee of this Royal Academy of Acting for Teachers, and he is an applicant to join our great institution. Okay, Trevor, please read the text.
Time hath my lord a wallet at his back wherein he puts arms for oblivion, a great-sized monster of ingratitude.
Well, I think there's a lot of work to be done on this, Trevor. But before we go on, let's have a closer look at the text, please. What do you feel? What are you thinking?
Well, I've got this raging debate within me about whether, and the debate seems to be about whether women are victims or men are cowards.
Oh, all right, okay. We can forget the raging debate within you for now, Trevor, because we've got a lot of work to do. We'll forget the raging debate. We may come back to it later. But now let's concentrate a little bit on the text. Are you ready, Trevor? Tell me, Trevor, what is the word, I wonder, that Shakespeare decides to begin his sentence with?
Time?
Time, right. And
yes.
Tell me, Trevor, how does Shakespeare decide to spell that word time? I mean, does he decide to spell it in an unusual way? How does he decide to spell it?
T-I-M-E.
T-I-M-E. And tell me, Trevor, what kind of spelling of the word time is that?
It's the ordinary spelling.
It's the ordinary spelling, isn't it? It's the conventional spelling.
Yes.
And tell me, Trevor, of all the possible ways that Shakespeare could have chosen to spell the word time, why do you think he chose this particular spelling?
Well, to give us time in the ordinary sense.
To give us time in the ordinary sense. Good. So Shakespeare has given us time in the ordinary sense, and he's given us time in the conventional sense. But Trevor, Shakespeare has also given us something else too. Have a closer look at the typography. What do you see?
It's got a capital T.
Shakespeare's T is very much a capital T, isn't it, Trevor?
Yes.
Why?
Because it's the first word in the sentence.
Well, I think that's partly true. But I think there is another reason too, isn't there, Trevor? Think. When do we use capital letters at the beginning of words? When do we spell words with a capital letter?
Oh, when they're important.
When they're important, when they have a conceptual sense, when they have an abstract sense. So Shakespeare has given us time in the conventional sense, and he's given us time in the abstract sense. Now, Trevor, do you think your voice is ready to convey that, Trevor, to this esteemed audience?
I hope so.
I hope so too, Trevor. Give it a go, give it a go.
Just the one word.
Just the one word for now, Trevor, please. Just the one word. Trevor, where do we begin from?
Oh, right. From the bottom.
Always begin from the bottom. From the bottom, Trevor. Take it again. Take it from the bottom.
Time.
What went wrong there, Trevor?
I don't know. I've got to be lost in the middle, I
Not
think.
to worry, not to worry, not to worry. Because what I want you to do now, Trevor, is to begin to add some of your own personal feelings to the text. Feelings of hopelessness and despair. Feelings of triumph and joy. Feelings of love and hate. Feelings of foolishness. Feelings of Troy. Troy falling, falling. Feelings of Troy rising, rising from the ruins. Feelings of jealousy, envy, greed.
Ambition?
No. Leave ambition out, Trevor. No, take it from the top.
You mean from the bottom?
Hey, you're good. From the bottom. Take it from the bottom.
So
well done, Trevor. Congratulations. That's wonderful. You've made great progress. This is exciting work. I'm very excited. I hope the audience are excited. Are you excited? Are you excited?
Oh, yeah.
This is very exciting work. This is the most exciting work I have ever done. Now, Trevor, let's finish today's session by doing the whole text again, applying all the things we've learned, and beginning from the bottom. Take it from the bottom, Trevor.
Time! Ask my Lord of Wallet at his back where he puts arms for oblivion.
Thank you very much, Trevor. Don't call us, we'll call you. Thank you. So if we are all actors, to some extent, including teachers, what is good acting? Let's see. Well, Hamlet, the Prince of Denmark, as you know, is also an actor, and he's a lover of the theatre. And there is a famous scene in Hamlet where he gives advice about good acting to the players, the actors. And he focuses, as we shall see, on voice and body language. So perhaps Hamlet's advice is advice that we too can learn from. What does Hamlet say? Speak the speech, I pray you, as I pronounced it to you, trippingly on the tongue. And do not saw the air too much with your hand thus, but use all gently, gently. Be not too tame neither, but let your own discretion be your tutor. Suit the action to the word to the action, with this special observance that you o'erstep not the modesty of nature. For anything so overdone is from the purpose of playing, whose aim both at the first and now was and is, as it were, to hold a mirror up to nature. That's his advice. Don't overdo it. Suit the word to the action and the action to the word. But Hamlet, or Shakespeare, also complains about one of the actors. Do you know which one he's unhappy with in the theatre? And Shakespeare was unhappy with? The clown. The clown. What was wrong with the clown? Hamlet says, let those that play your clowns speak no more then is set down for them. For there be some clowns who will themselves laugh to set on some barren quantity of spectators to laugh too. So let's see one such clown. One example. Bottom, the Weaver. From which play? Bottom, A Midsummer Night's Dream. Bottom the Weaver is also an amateur actor. If you remember the workers, and I saw the Rustavel performing this fantastically, the workers meet in the forest to rehearse a play. The play is called Pyramus and Thisbe, but it's really the comic version of Romeo and Juliet. Shakespeare wrote Romeo and Juliet, the tragic version, and Pyramus and Thisbe, the comedy. And Bottom, our clown, has just been given the star part of Romeo. So let's see what he says. Over to you, Bottom. Take it from the bottom.
What is Romeo? A lover, a tyrant, or a clown? A lover who kills himself for love. If I do it, let the audience look to their eyes. I shall bring storms. But my real talent is for a tyrant. I could play Hercules or a part to tear a cat in. The raging rocks do shake the shocks and break the locks. But let me play Juliet. I will speak in such a monstrous little voice. Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo? And let me be the lion too. I will roar that I will make any man's heart do well to hear me. I will roar that I will make the audience say, let him roar again, let him roar again.
Let him roar again. Roar again. Roar again. Roar. Roar. But if you do it too terribly, we will frighten the ladies and they will start to shriek, and that will be enough to hang us all.
But I will aggravate my voice and do it as gently, roar as gently as any dove. Roar, roar. Or I will roar softly like a nightingale. Tweet, tweet.
So, my friends, the clowns talk too much, the clowns talk out of turn, and the clowns try to get cheap laughs, as you saw. Trevor, he's always done this. Forgive him. Does this sound familiar to you? Do you have any clowns in your classes? You said you were English teachers. Hands up if you have a clown in your class. At least one. Hands up, let me see. Hands up. Hands up if you, when you were a student, were you the class clown? I was. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I was the class clown. Hands up, class clowns. Hands up. No? Georgians are very well behaved or very modest. You're very, how boring, boring, boring. Now, Hamlet, as you know, there is no real clown in the play Hamlet because the clown is Hamlet himself. Hamlet says, I will put on an antic disposition, which in simple English means he's going to play the madman and the fool. Do you think he's playing the madman and the fool in the most famous speech? The most famous speech in Hamlet, the most famous speech in Shakespeare, the most famous speech in the whole of English literature, which begins with the words to be or not to be. Is he playing the fool? He begins this speech like an English teacher teaching a class of beginners with the verb to be. And it's the verb to be that made me, as I stand here today, an English teacher. I graduated from the University of Bristol in English. I finished my degree a long, long time ago, and I wanted to travel, okay? And I saw a poster in the English department which said, teaching English as a foreign language in Greece. I didn't know what teaching English as a foreign language meant in those days, and I had never been to Greece, although my roots, as you may know, are Greek. So I was curious to go to Greece and teach English. But in order to get the job, I had to go and have an interview. The interview was in London at a big hotel. I went to the hotel. There was a big office there, a conference room, and the big fat owner of a big fat chain of private language schools, the first I had ever seen in my life, interviewed me. And to cut a long story short, he asked me a question which he thought would decide whether I could teach English or not. It was the litmus test, the acid test, the $64 question. Let's see if you could have answered this question. Are you ready for the big test? How many parts, he said, how many parts does the verb to be have? I said, pardon? He said, how many parts does the verb to be have? I said, well, I didn't know it had any parts. What are you talking about? I thought he was speaking Chinese or something. He said, and I had to get the job. I had to go to Greece. So I thought I must give him an answer. And I thought of my literature course at Bristol and Shakespeare and Hamlet, and I said, oh, I know, two. He said, two, wits, two. I said, to be or not to be? He said, ha ha, very funny. I got the job. That was 40 years ago. 40 years later, I'm still looking for the other 10 parts of the verb to be. I hope you know them. So, but we'll find them, I think. If we look in your program, you've got Hamlet, to be or not to be, with gaps. And we've nearly finished. Be patient. I want you to help me. My memory is not as good as it was. And as we read this, two things. When I forget my lines, I've given you some of the phrases and the gaps. Fill in the gaps as we go along. And when I forget, remind me of the next part of the speech. I'm sure you know it by heart anyway. Hands up if you know this speech by heart. It's easy, easy. To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against the sea of troubles and by opposing end them, to die, to sleep no more, and by sleep to say we end the heartache and the thousand natural shocks that flesh is heir to. 'Tis a consummation devoutly to be wished, to die, to sleep, perchance to dream. Aye, there's the rub. For in that sleep of death, what dreams may come when we have shuffled off this mortal coil must give us pause. There's the respect that makes calamity of so long life. For who would bear the whips and scorns of time, the oppressor's wrong, the proud man's contumely, the pangs of despised love, the law's delay, the insolence of office, the spurns that patient merit of the unworthy takes, when he himself might his quietus make with a bare bodkin? Who would fardels bear to grunt and sweat under a weary life, but that the dread of something after death, the undiscovered country from whose bourne no traveller returns, puzzles the will and makes us rather bear those ills we have than fly to others that we know not of. Thus conscience doth make cowards of us all, and thus the native hue of resolution is sicklied o'er with a pale cast of thought, and enterprises of great pitch and moment with this regard their currents turn awry and lose the name of action. Good, thank you. Well done. You did well. But we've nearly finished now. Be patient with us.
No, we haven't.
You know the funny thing, Shakespeare is poet, playwright, and man of mystery. The funny thing about Shakespeare and his comedies is that his comedies are not funny, are they? Okay. And most of the time, most people who watch Shakespeare don't know what the hell he's talking about. They hardly understand anything. If they understand a couple of words, those words are probably to be or not to be. But do they know who really wrote Shakespeare's famous speech? And all the other speeches, do we really know who wrote Shakespeare's plays? Well, in the next sketch, the mystery of the author who really wrote Shakespeare's plays will be solved. So hang on there. Here in Tbilisi, today, we will solve this. Have you heard of the mystery of the authorship? Do we know who wrote Shakespeare? Who wrote Shakespeare? Shakespeare? Well, you could be right. Not everybody agrees. And we decided that we would have a world exclusive today in Tbilisi, where we would all discover together the real author of Shakespeare's plays.
Come, Bill, good to see you.
Sorry I'm late. The traffic was terrible.
Good to see you, Bill. Well, the play's going well, isn't it, eh?
Yeah.
Looks like we might have a bit of a smash on our hands.
Yeah, it's doing all right. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
They always seem to go for the ones with the snappy title. Hamlet. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, well, the Act 3 may be a bit long. I don't know.
Act 3 may be a bit long. I think, in fact, generally speaking, we've got a bit of a length problem.
A length problem? What length problem?
It's 5 hours, Bill, with the audience standing up.
Standing up? But there are seats for tuppence.
Yeah, wooden seats for those who can afford it. And no toilets.
And so?
And so that's why I think we should get rid of some of the dead wood.
Dead wood? What do you mean, dead wood?
You know, some of the weak lines.
Weak lines?
Yeah, some of that stand-up stuff in the middle of the action.
Stand up?
Yeah.
I mean, you mean the soliloquies? My monologues?
Yeah, your monologues, or whatever you call them. And I think we both know which is the problematic one.
Do we? Which is the problematic one?
To be, noble in the mind, mortal coil. That one, the to be one. It's boring, Bill. The crowd hates it. It's boring.
I don't know about that. Happens to be my favourite, actually. Look, you cut one word of the to be speech, and I'm not doing the play.
Bill, Hamlet's out there going on about God knows what in one of those soliloquies of yours, while Claudius the King's already out there in the wings, waiting to come on, in that very funny costume of his. Waiting.
All right, you can cut the whole speech, all of it.
Bill, why do we have to fight over this? It's long, Bill. Long.
What do you want to do?
We could make it so snappy.
Snappy?
Yeah, you know, give it some oomph, some punch. How's it start, that speech?
To be.
Come on. After that.
To be a victim of all life's troubles on this earth, or not to be a coward and to take death by the hand.
There, I'm sure we can cut some of that.
No, absolutely not. It's perfect.
How about to be a victim or not to be a coward?
But to be a victim, that doesn't make sense. To be a victim of what? To be a coward about what?
Okay. Take out victim take out coward, just start to be or not to be.
To be or not to be? You can't say that. It's rubbish.
But
Rubbish.
it's short, William, it's short. Listen, it flows. To be or not to be, that is the question. De-dum, 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 dum-dum, de-dum.
You're damn right, that's the question. They won't have any bloody idea what he's talking about.
Well, right, let's leave that and go on, all right? Yep, let's, blah, 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 blah. Slings and arrows, good. Action, the crowd loves action. Take up arms, brilliant.
Yeah, well, I do my best. I have my moments.
Now let's see. Against those cursed doubts that do plague on man. Risky, Bill. Getting a bit risky here. Risque.
Risque?
Well, plague's a bit tasteless at the moment. A lot of people out there dying of the plague. We've had letters.
Well, yeah, I do get a lot of fan mail.
Complaining, Bill. Complaining. And set sail on a sea of troubles. This is good. Travel. Travel's very popular.
Travel? It's not about travel. It's poetry.
Poetry. Boring, Bill. Boring. So, let's just take out the weak bits and see what we've got. To suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take up arms against a sea of troubles. Good.
I resign.
Bill, it's brilliant.
It's crap. It's absolute crap. I mean, what's he talking about? He's going to pick up a bow and arrow, go down to the seaside. This is Prince Hamlet. I mean, if that's the best he can come up with, he might as well kill himself.
Creative thinking, Bill. Hamlet. Maybe he should kill himself.
What, in Act 1 at the beginning of the play? But he's the hero.
All right, okay. But we've got to think about bums on seats, Bill. I mean, we've got to sell tickets. Let's face it, it's the Ghost that's selling this show at the moment. The people love the Ghost. They love the sword fights. But no one likes Hamlet. No one.
All right. I'll get rid of him for you. Let's have a look.
With my speech, you won't.
Yeah. To die, to dream, perchance to dream, there's the rub. Hamlet stabs himself, dead, finished, gone.
Bill, I can see you're angry. I mean, I'm sorry. Hamlet has his moments. The angry stuff is very funny. I mean, it really is hilarious. But all I'm saying, Shaky, is let's just cut out some of the stuff in this incredibly long speech.
And all I'm saying is no. You cut one word and you can take my name off the poster.
All right, I'll tell you what I'll do.
What?
If you let me cut some of that to be or not to be speech, I'll let you keep those awful Cockney grave diggers.
What, the grave diggers? Keep them? Both of them?
Yeah, you can keep both of them.
And all that stuff with the skull?
The whole sketch.
All right. You've got a deal.
Brilliant.
And we'll see which one history remembers.
Bill, I love you. That boy, he's never going to make it. What a pity. He could have had such a bright future. Be cheerful, gentle ladies. Be cheerful, gentles all. Our revels now are ended. These are actors, as I foretold you. We're all spirits and are melted into air, into thin air. And like the baseless fabric of this vision, the cloud-capped towers, the gorgeous palaces, the solemn temples, the great globe itself, yea, and all which it inherit, shall dissolve. And like this insubstantial pageant faded, leave not a rack behind. We are such stuff as dreams are made on, and our little life is rounded with a sleep.
Our lessons now are ended. These, our students, as I foretold you, were but spirits and have worked in pairs, in groups and pairs. And like the baseless fabric of this session, the cloud-capped school, the gorgeous gadgets, the solemn teachers, the classroom itself, yea, all which it inherits shall dissolve. And like this insubstantial conference faded, leave not a word behind. Teaching is such stuff as dreams are made on.
I thought they were going to applaud, so I
No, it's okay. They know when to applaud.
Every classroom is a stage, and all schoolmasters
Or mistresses.
and all schoolmasters and mistresses merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and teachers in their time play many parts in lessons of many stages.
At first, the icebreaker, breaking down barriers between teacher and learner.
And then presenter of target language, with clarity and care to capture the attention of students who crawl unwillingly to school.
And then the friend, smiling and supportive, with gentle words, making learners' grammar grow.
Then the tester, full of forms and index numbers, armed with marks, grading and ranking, quick in discrimination, seeking the carrot, motivation, but bursting the bubble, learner transformation.
And then the judge, sitting at home with piles of papers, with eyes severe and endless cups of coffee, full of corrections in red and underlinings, and so they play their part.
The sixth stage shifts into the classroom manager, master, mistress of time and space, facilitator of classroom interaction, and monitor of learners' progress, a model of language and correctness.
Using her voice.
Or his voice.
Using her or his voice to keep up the pace and keep down the noise. Last role of all, that ends a good teacher's history, the magic of transformation, teaching with artistry,
with music,
with painting, and with poetry. If we actors have offended, think only this, and all is mended. Imagine you've been sleeping here while these visions did appear, and everything that you have seen has been nothing but a dream.
But that's all one, for our play's done, and we'll try to please you every day. Good night, ladies. Good night, sweet ladies.
Good night to you, gentles all. Good night. Good night. Good night.
In the program, you should know I have something a little bit different, but I will use just 2 or 3 minutes to advertise a book which was created at our university. And we are very proud of it, and we had a presentation of it, but well, probably only a few of you could attend. That's why I will say a couple of words about this book. So the book is called Teaching English as a Foreign Language, Reading and Writing in Georgia. And the reason why we are so proud of it, it is that it was published by Cambridge scholars. And that's probably the first time that a group of researchers from our university created a book published in a respectable publishing house in Great Britain. That's why I want to mention about it, and if anybody is interested, so it gives a lot of details on theoretical issues of how to teach reading and writing, and also there are pieces of research done in Georgia. That's why the title of the book is Teaching Reading and Writing in Georgia, because the theoretical part is, of course, for anybody, but the research part has been done in Georgia. And if any of you are interested in probably purchasing it, so you can find the book on Amazon.com. And one of the authors as well, and among the authors, as I mentioned, we always try to attract our students in research, so 3 of authors are or were at that moment our PhD students. Okay, so the topic of my speech today is parent-school cooperation and father's role in it. Now, this is quite a popular topic for school education, because definitely parents play a great role in what children finally become. Of course, school plays also a great role, but if they cooperate, then the effect is as much as possible. Now I want to mention that I dedicate my speech to my father, because I deeply believe that thank you, that what I am, this is, I don't know, 90% due to him. But of course, school and university contributed to the other 10%. Sorry. First of all, the very term about parental involvement and parental participation. So the thing is that participation may be something more technical, like the father brings the child to school and takes him back from school. So it also plays the role, and it is also important, and the child feels that the father cares about her education. However, that's not the main thing, and parental involvement is very important. And I want to mention that the definition, according to McNeil, parent involvement is any action taken by a parent that can be theoretical to be expected to improve student performance or behavior. By the way, research which was held on parental involvement, and in particular in father's involvement in children's education, is surprisingly contradictory. There is research which says it's very influential, but there is research, and I found more researchers who say, no, not much result. That was very surprisingly for me, but I think the reason was how we understand parental involvement. For example, a son gets a poor grade, comes home, and the father probably uses corporal punishment or just shouts at the son. And in that case, that kind of parental involvement, it's better to have no parental involvement at all. So from this point of view, probably researchers did not define very well what they mean by parental involvement. Because if it is positive by its nature, it can't help bringing the results. That's my deep belief. Now, unfortunately, for today, in majority of countries, if not in all countries, when they say school parental involvement, so they usually mean mother, sometimes grandmother, maybe aunt, maybe senior sister, but definitely not father or grandfather or uncle or senior brother. Very seldom, unfortunately. That's the tendency all over the world. But I think that's a very bad tendency, because fathers have a great impact. By the way, another mistake is that Father's contribution should be and is huge to educating sons, not so much daughters. I absolutely disagree, and what I started my presentation with is an example when this is definitely not true, because I was, well, the only child. My father had no choice. Maybe had he had choice, he would contribute to his son more, I don't know. But he hugely contributed to my development. Okay, so parental involvement does not mean only mother involvement. This is one of my very important issues that I want to say. Now, there are different ways how father's involvement may be. Well, the simplest one I have already mentioned. This is just bringing the child to school and taking the child back. This is very widely spread because not all mothers have a car, or not all mothers can drive a car. And nowadays, children usually live not very close to the school, so it's a natural part when fathers just bring and take children to and from school. But of course, other things are much more important, like systematic or periodic monitoring of what and how the child is doing at school. This is unfortunately mostly done by mothers, which is not a very good idea. Especially this is not a very good idea in countries where mother's education average level is lower than father's educational average level. So in these countries, at least, fathers should be much more involved than they usually are in checking what their children are doing at school and how they are doing it. Helping to do the lessons, generally I am against it, but well, from time to time, why not? And helping with extracurricular education, this is what my father did a lot to me, and I think this decided finally what I have become. And taking part in school events, that's quite unusual all over the world. In some countries, a little bit more usual. But generally, unfortunately, there are few, if any, events at school where fathers are involved, beginning with just ordinary meetings between the teacher and the parents. Usually, mothers, grandmothers, aunts, etc. Attend those meetings. But it's not only about it, it's about the wonderful holiday which nowadays many countries have, which is Father's Day. Very few schools celebrate Father's Day. A lot of schools celebrate Mother's Day. In Georgia, I think every school does. But I haven't heard about a school in Georgia. Maybe somebody tells me I'm wrong. But I haven't heard about any school in Georgia that celebrates Father's Day. Or just some events like family competitions, whole family coming and planting trees, etc., where fathers are involved. So that's a wonderful format of father's involvement. Because, you know, nowadays, by the way, on the Facebook, there was a wonderful picture. Wonderful, I would say a very sad picture, but wonderful from the point of view that it reflects the reality. Father, mother, and a couple of children walking in the park, one of them looking into some gadget, another listening to music, another just talking on the mobile phone, and it was called Four Solitudes. So unfortunately, being in the same place with your child and contributing to your child's development is not the same, but too many fathers understand that if they are in the same room with their children, that's already great achievement. And, well, attending school meetings, which is absolutely untypical for fathers. Now, I'd like to address the audience. I'm quite happy that we have enough males, not only females, because the questionnaire is for fathers. And I want you to respond by raising your hands. How often do you attend, or did you attend school meetings or other school events? No hand. How often does or did your children school invite fathers to participate in special school events? Again, no hands. Such a pity. Has it happened that you were invited to school but did not go? How do you get information about your child's school life? From my wife, from my child, from school teacher or administration? Probably the most rare case is from the child. The most rare case, and that's also not a very good attitude. So, frankly speaking, if you want to get information about how your child is doing at school, first you should ask the child, then the teacher, and only last your wife. But in reality, it's vice versa, unfortunately. If you do go to school meetings, it is because your wife is dead, ill, or absent. You equally share this responsibility with your wife, very seldom. You have more free time than your wife. No man will recognize it even if he has. You think this is the best way to help your child learn? Well, that should be the good answer, but few people usually choose it. If you refuse to go to school, you claim this is because you are too busy, even if you are not. You are divorced and your ex-wife does not let you be involved in the child's upbringing. Unfortunately, it often happens. So here, ladies, don't behave like this, please. You view attending school as mother's responsibility. Majority of fathers deeply believe so. You are not invited personally. So, by the way, this is very important. If the school says, we invite parents, who will go? Mother. If she is busy, grandmother. But if school says, we invite father, in that case, probably father will have to go. And I don't think still many will go, but at least some. According to systematic theory of Bromf and Brenner, relationships between spouses are very important for the style which the father takes for his involvement in child's education. That's why the more husband and wife speak to each other, the more they try to understand each other, to listen to each other, the more father is usually involved in child's education, which is wonderful. So there are several more factors which are involved, which have an impact on the father involvement in child's education. Among them, the style of relationships in the family. So if it is a typical patriarchal family, the father will never go to school. Father's educational level, usually the higher the father's educational level, the more ready he is to be involved in the child's education. The research has shown that father's economic status has nothing to do with father's involvement. There are fathers with a high level of economic status and with a low one, and who either are totally uninvolved or very much involved. So economic factor has nothing to do with it. Children's age. The older the children are, the more involved fathers become. Because fathers usually have big problems. Well, they like playing with little children. Like fathers like playing football with their sons, why not? But as for being involved in teaching them ABC, counting and such things, fathers usually have no patience. But when it comes to something more complicated, then they are ready to be involved. I remember my own husband who started to be involved with educating my daughter when she was already 14. Before it, he avoided it very much. Children's gender, by the way, from this point of view, the research is contradictory enough because there are fathers who are more involved in sons' education, but there are fathers for whom it does not matter, and they are equally involved in daughters' and sons' education. So that's a contradictory issue. So it depends on, as I have already mentioned, the patriarchal or non-patriarchal style of relationships in the family. And teacher's gender, by the way, all previous items I had in my mind before I started writing the paper, but the last one I just read in some publications, which was a little bit a shock for me, that fathers avoid going to school and meeting the teacher or school administration if the teacher or administrator is a woman. But if it's a man, they feel much better because they somehow feel awkward in front of a lady teacher or administrator criticizing them, etc. But if a man teacher or administrator does so in that case they feel much better because they feel like on the equal ground. That's why if you as school teacher or school administrator want to attract your school children's fathers to school, probably first try to do it with male teachers' participation, and it might help. And I myself held the questionnaire like the questions that I have read to you. I will not speak about the details of questionnaire, but I want to mention that among 175 participants, so the questionnaire was on my Facebook, and it was done through SurveyMonkey. And I was waiting for 3 months for people to respond because they were not very eager to respond. And among participants, there were parents, there were school teachers, there were school administrators. Majority of participants who answered the questionnaire, as expected, were women. Men did not care to answer. Unfortunately, probably they don't think it's quite important, and they are very wrong if they think so. However, I don't think that all the responses are very much true to life. For example, the first question was, how often do fathers attend school meetings with parents? And you see 74% of respondents said often. I don't know, I've been to school, Georgian school, I have never seen a father there. So probably, yeah. Okay. No, I'm not saying that nobody should have answered like this, but the high number is quite surprising me. But probably, people who were interested in this questionnaire were people who were interested in fathers' participation in their children's schooling. That's why had people who are not interested answered the question, probably the answers will be, from the point of view of percentage, quite different. First of all, educated children. Second, if they want to be close to their children, because there is no other way to be close with your children than to do some job together. Not just to have a good time, but to do some job, and education is a sort of job. About 1/5 of respondents, of my respondents, deeply believe that this is mother's responsibility to be connected with school, and I deeply believe that this opinion has to be changed. And if not equally, but more or less equally, should be the correct answer to my mind if we want our children to develop adequately. My aim was neither to blame the fathers that they are not very much involved in their children's education, nor to blame schools which do not create conditions for fathers not to be involved in school events. But my aim was just to raise the consciousness on this issue and if at least 2-3 people start thinking about, and by the way, I'm not addressing only gentlemen in this room, but I'm addressing ladies as well, because, well, we can stimulate our husbands to be better involved in their children's education, fathers. So we have a great impact on that, and my aim is much more that. And my aim is also school teachers and school administrators who should start thinking about this and start organizing events to which fathers, or at least let it be grandfathers and uncles, a male close relative of the child who should be involved in such events. And it is very important to inform society that father involvement is as important, if not more important, for child's education than mother's involvement. By the way, it depends very much on the country, and if in European and other Western countries there is a tendency with higher father's involvement, but in southern countries, in Asian countries, there is a lower level of father involvement, generally, traditionally, according to traditions. But the traditions are changing, but they may change only after maybe decades of work, showing how good it is when, how happy it makes the child, how educated it makes the child if father is involved in his education. And of course, another way is for school to, when they announce to children that next week there will be a parents' meeting from time to time, at least once a year, to announce next week there will be fathers' meeting, and please bring your fathers, or at least grandfathers, uncles, senior brothers to the meetings, because we want to have a male impact both on boys and girls. And of course, research on the issue should persuade the society, because traditionally they say, well, that's mother's responsibility and mother has a great impact, father cannot have that great impact. But if research proves, and more than once, that father's impact is very positive in that case, and if these results are brought to the white society, then the society probably with time will change the opinion. As for interviews, that's in my further plan. Generally, I got interested in the topic of father's role in child's life, not only education, but life on total, and I'm planning to write a book on that. And that's my second research that I'm doing around different aspects of the problem. So those of you who are or who will be my Facebook friends, please pay attention, because more questionnaires and more interviews will appeal there around the topic. And don't think that that's the same one. That will be a new one, a different one. And I'm going, of course, to hold interviews, because only questionnaire is not enough. I'm going to visit schools and to have interviews not only with fathers, but also with school teachers and school administration, to find out the real situation, etc. And I'm going to visit, to have a historic overview also, for example, some famous people's fathers and how they impacted their children's development and so on. So, but if you have any interesting materials connecting with father's role in child's life, I welcome you to contact me directly. You can find my mail on IPSU website. I will be happy for any kind of contribution, like personal stories from your families, for example. And also, because in my book there will be such parts as well. And if you want to contribute, it may be personal, or you can name yourself. You can even send me some good photos, father with children. But also it can be anonymous, so it will be up to your choice in what way you are ready to contribute. So I will be very happy if you, your friends, somebody whom you know, you recommend people to participate in this my work, because I believe deeply that that's one of big educational problems in Georgia. Because, you know, majority of teachers are females at school, even at university nowadays, like 75%, especially in humanities and social sciences, the majority of teachers are females. At home, mother, grandmother, and children grow up with very little male impact. And then we are asking, why don't we have real men? That's why. And if I manage to contribute at least a little bit that the situation in Georgia changes, and we again have our Georgian, what we call it in Georgian, vashkatsebi, their participation in their children's lives, if it changes 1%, I will be very happy. Thank you.
That's our subject in this digital age, 21st century, with all these apps. So let me find out a bit about you. Whatever we're doing, whether it's digital or whether it's coursebook, paper-based, interaction with learners is the name of the game, isn't it? Any book, even when you were a learner of whatever, you can adapt the question. Because the question is, think of a coursebook.
So I think we need to think about that as we create our courses, as we create our tests. Okay, so why is this important? Of course, we create the goals, and then we create our lesson plans, our syllabi, our curricula, those sorts of things. And then monitoring and assessment. Today we're talking mostly about monitoring and assessment. But corpus linguistics.
All the political processes. So they will. How many of you think that it is necessary to participate in political processes? Then, what is the difference between a political party and a faction? Do you remember what is faction? Which is bigger? Political party?
We have your, I don't know, Georgian cuisine, Thai cuisine, Russian cuisine, so on. Okay, but I read in Anthony Giddens' this is a very good author who often writes about globalization, especially globalization in education.
You find here some some items which moved from their culture, not only a body language speaking.
However, Western culture changed a lot of stuff in different geographical locations.